The most recent targets former Vice President Joe Biden and actor and liberal activist Robert De Niro. Previous packages were intercepted at CNN's New York offices, in Washington, in southern New York State, South Florida, and Los Angeles. This all started on Monday when a bomb arrived at the home mailbox of billionaire philanthropist George Soros. So who's behind all this? What do they actually want? Ellen Morrow has the latest on the drive to find those responsible.
A bomb squad officer handles one of the packages, taking the envelope and leaving the suspected bomb behind for safe collection.
I campaigned.
This one was meant for former Vice President Joe Biden.
I just want to make
Another was sent to actor Robert De Niro. Like all the other targets, they're strong critics of Donald Trump.
I'm going to say one thing, Trump.
A nationwide manhunt for the serial bomb maker or makers is on.
Someone's trying, or some group of people are trying to terrorize us, trying to get us to lose faith in our government, in our institutions, in our society.
None of the devices have exploded.
We recreated it right here. It took 10 minutes. It's simple. I like to term this a Mickey Mouse kind of device.
That's left questions about the intent, to harm or to simply scare.
At least from my perspective, this, in my opinion, this is it's a hoax device meant to scare people or intimidate them to get whatever thought or ideologies across.
Authorities are telling people to stay vigilant.
This has to be taken with the utmost seriousness. So as far as a hoax device, we're not treating it that way.
The bombs are now being examined at an FBI facility in Quantico, Virginia.
Each one of these devices, when it is dissected, will be able to provide some forensic evidence.
Along with the culprit's identity, motive, and the possibility of escalation are top of mind.
Is this enough for them? Will this investigation inspire this person to learn from their mistakes, perfect their methodology, and come up with a device that will actually work?
Several of the devices are reported to have come through this Florida mail facility. One potential clue as a divided country waits for answers. Ellen Morrow, CBC News, Washington.
Along with more suspicious packages today came more vitriol and accusations about who's to blame for the toxic political climate that some say fueled this crisis. And that put the White House press secretary on the defensive this morning.
The president is certainly not responsible for sending suspicious packages to someone, no more than Bernie Sanders was responsible for a supporter of his shooting up a Republican baseball field practice last year. The idea that this is at the hands of the president is absolutely ridiculous.
So joining me now with more on the politics of all this is CBC's Paul Hunter in Washington. So Paul, what did the president himself have to say about all this today?
Well, here's what Donald Trump didn't say or do. He didn't back down from his rhetoric against the media. And he didn't say, hey, if this was done by someone who supports me, I do not condone what you do. He did, however, tweet. Here it is. A very big part of the anger we see today in our society, he wrote, is caused by the purposely false and inaccurate reporting of the mainstream media that I refer to as fake news. It has gotten so bad and hateful that it is beyond description. Mainstream media must clean up its act fast. Critics pounced. Setting aside that Trump himself regularly puts out false and inaccurate information, that's on top of language he uses all the time that gives a nod and a wink to violence. Among Trump's critics today, John Kasich, governor of Ohio.
He is not capable of being a unifier. In fact, I've become convinced that he doesn't know how to accept personal responsibility and always finds somebody else to blame.
But Trump's not alone in his views. I want to take a listen to a bit of video from TMZ, who today ran into Newt Gingrich, former Republican Speaker of the House. There's a bit of a back and forth here, but give a listen.
The president has also bashed the mainstream media. He's the president, though.
That's right, and the mainstream media has often earned it.
But should the president even be attacking and saying these things? Like Robert De Niro, and it's everybody that's on this list has been people that have opposed the president.
Look, I don't think there's a direct relationship of any kind between Trump and that kind of thing. The people you're talking also are people who have been publicly very hostile to conservatism. Very.
Keep in mind, though, that in a sense, none of this is new from Donald Trump. Even just this week in Houston at a rally I was at that we were talking about last night, his language was dark, angry, ugly, and divisive. And in Houston, Adrian, the crowd cheered loudly.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Paul. The CBC's Paul Hunter in Washington tonight. And Rosia, I know you just got back from speaking with Americans in a huge swing state about how this divide worries them.
It does, and I was just in Ohio's 12th congressional district. It could go either way in just a couple of weeks, so it seemed like a good place to talk about that political divide. We sat down with a group of people, half of whom support the president, half do not. We're going to hear more from them next week. But for now, here's a sense of what we talked about. But the divisions that we're talking about, have any of you experienced that on a personal level? Or you can't talk politics at the table?
Not my family.
Or
I mean, like my sisters. And we
Roland?
don't talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll go around, because it sounds like you all have.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, I go to Florida to visit my family. You know, my dad is 91. A hardline Republican. I call my sister a Fox Republican. That's that's all she repeats. And I will tell you, with my sister, we just don't talk about it.
Feeling like we're not even 2 years into this, and there's so much hate.
This has to be moderated, right? And we're sipping water and having a nice conversation. The reality is unfortunately, I think what we've lost is not just America. I think it's all over the place. Is the art of conversation, right?
You cannot have a conversation where you avoid Trump, and that became clear because he is such a polarizing figure. And it is scary for me to say in the country that I love that my sons, I fear for them. Now I will say that fear is not new.
No, yeah.
But it's intensified because there's a permission that there wasn't before.